Sweeping new policies for bail at New Orleans Criminal Court are again under fire, this time in a study by a local watchdog group.
And some of the same concerns were highlighted last year by investigative reporter Mike Perlstein in our series called Bailout. Here's Mike with the latest.
To see them rated a risk level 1 is, I think, a travesty and an insult to the officers that bravely protected and served the community. One of them almost lost their life.
Rafael Goyeneche of the Metropolitan Crime Commission is referring to these two robbery suspects, captured after allegedly tying up two pharmacy employees and shooting a responding police officer. His concern, outlined in this report, is that a pretrial assessment gave the suspects the lowest possible risk score.
So this instrument is flawed. I think it is a gimmick and it needs to be revised.
The magistrate set the bail for the two suspects at more than $1 million each, essentially ignoring the court's own risk rating, a formula applied by the court's pretrial services department with each arrest.
It shows you that judges aren't paying attention to the risk assessments.
The MCC report, looking at 9 months of bail data, shows that 1/3 of violent crime suspects, including 29% of murder suspects, also get rated as a 1. The report also points out something that we revealed in our series Bailout, that some suspects see their risk level go down with new arrests. Theron Glover was given a risk rating of 3 after he was arrested in a dozen car burglaries. Then he was booked with aggravated battery in a quadruple shooting, and his risk score went down to 1.
So how can there be any logic to that?
The risk ratings have helped push the city's jail population to record lows. But the MCC asks, at what cost? Mike Perlstein, Eyewitness News.
Now, City Hall did push back against the MCC report, issuing a statement that the risk assessment is just one factor used by the court in setting bail. Now, the city said for those pretrial suspects who are released, 92% make their court appearances without any issues.